Hello and good morning. My name is Steve Pugh. It is the 16th of August 2021. Welcome, it's Friday morning. Every Friday morning I try and do something called the Roadmap MBA kind of live Q&A, where people and questions that people have sent in throughout the week I try and answer, but also kind of cover some really interesting topics. I'll be 1 second. There we go. So what I try and do, and it's almost in two kind of forms. So I have a business course, which is called the Roadmap MBA, which you've probably seen before. I kind of tend to plug every week. And basically, it's a real world business course that helps people teach them the skills to grow their business or career. It's specifically aimed at SMEs. These are people who, generally in smaller businesses, you have to wear multiple hats. So you have to take on different roles within a business. And this could be to sell to customers, it could be to manage a team, it could be to write a strategy. Good morning, Simon, as always. And Simon, just for you, I finally ordered my Shy Burns t-shirt, so thankfully feel free to put a plug in the comments to plug your kind of business as well, but I finally kind of got around to ordering mine. So where was I? Yeah, so basically the challenges small businesses like mine and like Simon's have are often different to what they teach on traditional, say, MBA business courses, which are generally aimed at large international businesses and tech unicorns and startups. So what I wanted to do was almost create some at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, where you have everything in one place that you might need to know to help grow your business or career, but actually it's really useful for you as well. No problem at all, Simon, and I've been meaning to do it for a while. I just needed to measure up my t-shirt size and stuff as well. So what we're trying to do is almost build a good solid community of people that almost work together. We have classroom sessions 4 times a week. Really good milestone this week as well. So we had someone join the 8 p.m. Tuesday session, which was the first. So thank you to Demolola for that. And then what we've tried to do is that the roadmap is now in 22 different countries, which is quite cool. But actually, it's to make something which is accessible to people. It doesn't matter if you're in Ukraine, China, USA, wherever. Although I'm based in the UK, through the beauty of live streaming and live kind of classroom sessions, there's a lot of stuff that we can do to help give people access to good quality information to help them in their business or career. But then likewise, the whole mission is making business education accessible. That also goes to the extent of taking really complicated concepts, simplifying it down, and making it easy for you as the reader or the user to basically pick something up and learn it in 2 minutes, as opposed to having to spend 8 hours reading a book on a particular topic. And it's trying to make everything as easy as possible. And yes, you can join the live streams, but you can also join the classroom sessions. We've got videos on the website, which there's 147 videos, I think. You've got the textbook. And then likewise, technically it was last week, we had the first person complete the course as well. So congrats to Joe. He now has his 40 hours of CPD, continuing professional development certificate. And yeah, so I try and do this every Friday. I love it when people get involved in the comments. Good morning, Lee. Good morning, Matthew, as well. And part of what we're trying to do is just make things accessible, make it real. But then likewise, because I'm a real person myself, everything we talk about, I'm actually doing. So when it's one of my topics, but it's almost that there's a big difference for me when someone will teach you the theory about how to sell or how to scale a business, or that you should do online video. I saw a post this morning. But very few people actually do it, and they don't do it because it's difficult to do, or people believe that it's difficult to do. So actually, I kind of walk the walk with everything that I try and do. And then likewise, if you ever have any comments, so Matthew in the past has asked loads of different stuff, I will either answer them live, which is all either the kind of the proof in the pudding, so that's why the whiteboard is here, or I kind of pre-prepared some stuff which I'll talk about this week. So yeah, one of the other things that I also love to know as well, I obviously have my notes that I can read up, is actually I'd love to know what progress people have made with their own businesses or projects this week as well. I think often people, we worry too much that you have to make these massive strides, make huge progress really quickly. And something we spoke about in previous weeks is that actually to build a good solid business or progress your career or whatever, or even to make it to the Olympics, which is one of the past examples, it's often not, nobody just wakes up and is successful. It takes lots of different things. So for me this week, I've made a lot of progress on version 2, which I've been talking about. What else have I done? Loads of client stuff, but actually it's lots of little kind of small wins, which is quite cool. And again, having Demolola and some of the guys join on Tuesday was cool as well. But I'd love to know, please kind of comment in the comments. For Simon, it could be just getting the next sale with his business and that kind of thing as well, which is cool, even though it was kind of me. So the 3 topics I'm going to talk about today The first one is the difference between theory and practice. We all know what it's like where you've been to school, or ironically, the Premier League season starts soon. You have people that say, oh, the manager should do this, why is he doing it? And people shout from the stands about how you could do it better. But actually, unless you're in that person's position, you practice this stuff every day. There's a big difference between doing that, so I'm going to talk about that one. Something that's interesting that actually came up this week was one of my clients is a subsea energy business, and I wanted to pick someone's brain, so I'm a director there and I help them run the company. And I just wanted to sense check something with a guy called Dan, and I did, but I already knew the answer before I even spoke to him. So he said, actually, there's a tech concept called tell it to the duck. So I bought a duck, and I'll talk about that one as well. And then last but not least as well, in the classroom session on Tuesday, we were doing sales closing, and it was always to do with teaching people to sell, helping people to actually understand, what is involved and how to be a good salesperson. And then what I'm also going to do is adapt the classic sales adage of someone saying, sell me this pen, to actually, we're going to do it on headphones. And the reason is I just wanted to mix it up a bit, but there's a slightly different reason to kind of do it that way as well. So we're 9:07. Please kind of get involved. I love it when people just send messages and ask me questions, or even just tell me, where in the world you're from. We've had people from Dubai, India, USA, all over the world. Obviously, a lot of people in England as well. But it's just, I love it when people get involved, and it's always quite cool. And as you will see, you'll see the comments pop up here as well. And part of the reason, just to be honest again, so I stream using the software called OBS, and it goes from here to, I can send it to lots of different platforms. And there's a platform called Twitch, which is predominantly for gamers, but actually there's a lot of other stuff you can put on there as well. I stopped a while back streaming to Twitch because you had a lot of teenage boys commenting swear words and stuff that I couldn't risk coming up on the screen. So it's that kind of strategic decision is a slight change, but if it is live, you will see it kind of start to pop up. And then please get involved. I love it when there's some interaction as well, which is cool. So what shall I start with? There we go. I'm just looking at, actually, yeah. So what I also wanted to do, which almost takes it quite quick or quite easy, is almost talk about some hot topics from the week. So before I go into the detail, which generally these segments are about 5 minutes each, some big stuff. Really hot topics this week. One is actually to do with, there was the UN report on climate change. Now, I think many people understand climate change, that it's a big deal. But for business people and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and small businesses, the reason why this is important is that now more than ever, sustainability should be a major part of your growth plan and your marketing promotion, actually just kind of your strategy moving forward. For version 2, I've been really looking hard at how can I reduce the amount of paper, plastic, etc. that I use with the courses, because I send hundreds of e-kins out, and hopefully over the next 10 years it will be much more than that. But then likewise, it's all making all these changes to try and improve your business, actually just kind of prove your green credentials, because for the buying drivers of a lot of people, this will be important. So this will be important even if it's a B2B or a B2C kind of service. And likewise, one of my clients, we have something called an ESG campaign, which is about your environmental and social governance. And it was just something that, especially this week with all the headlines and stuff, the more you can kind of push that angle and actually just differentiate yourself in the market through your values and things that are important to you. If climate change in the environment it's definitely something to kind of talk about, and it can be your USP moving forward, and it's definitely something I would recommend. There was an interesting post this week from a lady called Jenny Smith that I really like. So she has a business called Networking Know Who, and it was actually to do with investment. And then what Jenny posted, I think it was on Twitter, it might have been LinkedIn, was that you see all the time about how company raises £2 million, isn't it fantastic, they employ 200 people or whatever. And Jenny's point was that doesn't always encourage smaller businesses who don't do that, who don't have outside investment or don't employ a huge number of people, almost that they're not good enough or not at the same level. So part of the thing, then the discussion from my point of view to Jenny, was that I don't plan to kind of raise external investment. I bootstrap all this, so I pay for all of this myself in everything that I kind of do from the kind of consultancy work. But actually, if you know what the type of business you want to create and what your goal is, it's not right for everyone to raise £1 million, because then what you do, although that sounds great, you're going to give away equity in the business. So one day when you then come to sell it. If you ever come to sell it, you obviously lose the stake. You lose control. So if someone is going to put money into your business, chances are they want to say in how it's run. And especially for what I do and for what Jenny does, when someone could take control of your business, one of the big things for me is the buy one get one. So the fact that I give away at least 50% of all the courses to free to people all around the world that want to learn business education but don't necessarily have the funds available to pay for it. That's really kind of important to me for what I want to do. If I had external investors that solely wanted to make profit, they could in theory stop me doing that. But I think often people never think about the impacts of external investment and how it can have negatives as well. It's just something I wanted to talk about, that I never plan as they plan to. You never know what could happen down the road, but actually you have to decide what's right for you, kind of what's right for your business and that kind of thing as well. And then last but not least, and this is just a shout out to anyone, just based on risk, always back up your software, back up your hard drives, do your stuff. I always like to just throw out little nuggets, because it wasn't that long ago that I use this portable Samsung SSD drive. It's 2 terabytes I take everywhere between my iMac and the laptop. And I realized if I lost that drive, I'd be in trouble, because actually I had a lot of my client stuff on it. So I had multiple backups both at home and in the office. And it was just often people, they think, oh, it won't happen to me and whatever. But actually, if you were to have your computer stolen or your house burnt down or whatever, could that actually cripple your business? Could you lose all your designs for your products? Could you do whatever? And actually, just if you can, back up your stuff, look at how you can protect your business and just manage your risks. But although that's a really small point to some people, could actually be massive if it all goes wrong as well. So on 9/12, I think that was my last one. And then last but not least, because actually I don't know about you, but I've almost found that this month there's been a bit of a lull in terms of people starting to go on holiday, the schools are out, and that's great. And it's almost on 2 ways. One is, if you can, take the time to actually have some time off. People like myself work really, really hard, that actually you can burn out, and it's something that actually, whether it's your partner or your spouse or whatever, don't be afraid, never feel guilty to actually take some time off. I think it's really important. Or if it goes a little bit quieter, use this to actually launch that project, do that thing that you've wanted to do for ages. So for me, it's almost spending more time on my own stuff and actual client stuff to really help just get your project that little bit further down the line before you kind of launch it as well. So especially when it's quiet and you haven't got the phone ringing all day every day because people are on holiday, this can actually be a really good time to work on your own stuff as well. Hi Simon, all our t-shirts and hoodies are all good. I've just ordered one, so I can't come in yet on the quality, but I will in future kind of weeks. But Sam's a really good guy. He's on the roadmap. He's a long-time kind of supporter. And again, I'm more than welcome anyone who wants to comment on the stream. These all get clipped up and gone to YouTube and whatever as well. But again, for small businesses, we often have to take the opportunities that we can to promote ourselves. So definitely, I don't mind you doing that as well. Obviously, just do it once, don't do it 100 times. But it was just, Simon, no, great. Thank you for doing that as well. Okay, I'm going to get some water because my coffee's been a little bit cold. Okay, I'm going to put that there. So my first topic today, I'm going to go purple, is the difference between theory and practice. So how often in your business or career do you see someone on YouTube, ironically, or wherever, and they say, oh yeah, you should do this. It's the classic one actually could be to do with fitness. Stop eating chocolate. Often easier said than done. With business stuff or with fitness stuff, oh yeah, you should do 50 push-ups every day. You should run 10K every 2 days, etc. And there's always a big difference between people that tell you what you should do and people that actually practice it. And I think it's one of the things that I have a lot more respect for Olympic athletes, or to be honest, anyone that has a conviction to do anything, but they kind of stick by it. But one of the things that you definitely see in business education, but actually you see in law and accountancy and whatever, is that you can go to university and be taught the theory for how to run an employment tribunal, what the law is, what the letter of the law says, etc. But actually, unless you've stood in the courtroom, done the case, done the commercial negotiations, see what actually happens in practice where things go wrong, you soon realize that actually the theory is important. Anyone with real world practical skills is far and away better than someone that's only ever taught the topic and not actually kind of lived it. For me, sales is a big one. So you can get people that will teach you how to sell, etc. Excuse me. But one of the big things that I've been doing at the moment is actually doing some sales work for a client. But actually, there's a big difference when you can teach them the theory about how you should do it, but when they actually pick up the phone and they're tasked with actually delivering real world value and sales quickly, there's a whole world of difference between the two. So again, if you were looking to learn from someone, for me, I would always choose to learn from the person that actually practices and does it versus just the theory. Likewise, I think this is why I've got friends that are in property. So for instance, if you are a property developer, and I think Matthew had mentioned this, good morning, Jonathan, in the past, is actually, you can learn the theory about how you should buy properties cheap and how you can make money from them and how you get rental income and how you do all this stuff. But there's a massive difference between actually someone just doing it on YouTube that is just talking about the theory of it and actually someone that lives it and breathes it. And it's one of those things that I wanted to talk about because I was talking it through with my wife and we were talking it through and we almost realised that it's applicable to so many different areas that actually, yes, for the roadmap, I get paid to do this stuff all day, every day. So when I teach it and I talk about it, I'm constantly evolving on different things. And actually, hopefully that's quite useful. And then something else I'm just going to touch on whilst we're on this kind of topic. I've just finished this book, which is called Brand Storytelling. I mentioned at the start about how I don't mind reading and kind of learning stuff, but this is a 210-page book. A lot of theory in there. Pretty good. I think I'm going to review it maybe 7 out of 10 if you're into the topic, maybe a 5 out of 10 if you're not. But there's a whole world of difference between someone that is a brand storyteller for Microsoft and how they can do that, because when they sell the dream about Microsoft kind of products and stuff, that's a whole different world away from a small business owner in Middlesbrough that wants to do a coffee shop, for instance. Microsoft has a brand, they have finances, they have a whole huge background that, yes, you can talk about the perfect theory about how to do certain things and make your customer the hero of the story and go into huge detail on doing that. But actually, if you are the small business owner in Middlesbrough, chances are it's better to actually learn from someone that does this in a similar size to what you do and actually has practiced it, has done it, has found what works, and then share that knowledge as opposed to in theory. And then the other two, which are my books for this week. One is called The Obstacle is the Way by a guy called Ryan Holiday. And actually this is all about stoicism and almost mindset to do with different people in how they deal with challenge over time. And actually this looks quite interesting, so I'm really looking forward to this one. And then the other one, which is called Purple Cow, which is a Seth Godin book. This is quite famous for, I've noticed they're both purple, but that's a book which has been around for quite a long time. But I'm also interested to see, is it any good or not? Like, I've heard reviews either way, that some people think it's the best thing ever. Others think, well, actually, it's quite simplistic. And actually, what I plan to do is read them both, same as I did with the brand storytelling. Try and get the real value from it. And then if I think it's any good, I'll tell you. If I think it's crap, I'll tell you. But then actually, break it down so that rather than you having to spend 8 hours reading a book that might be garbage, you've kind of got someone like me to do that for you as well. But it's the whole idea that, theory versus practice. If you take Jonathan again, I could read about the installation of AV systems in people's houses and commercial properties and learn the theory, but unless you actually do it and you know all the logistical problems and what goes wrong and when the wiring doesn't work and what happens when live streaming fails and whichever, it's a whole different world. So for me, it's really important. But I'd love to know what you think. Do you trust someone that is an academic specialist? And it could be on any topic you want. Or someone that, yes, they've trained in it, but actually they've got years and years of practice doing stuff. But for me personally, I always want that person. The classic example to do with job recruitment is, do you go for the person with a degree but no work experience? Or do you go for the person who has a ton of work experience but doesn't have the degree? For me, I go for the practical experience, will and drive every single time. But I would love to know what you think as well. On 9:20. Good morning to anyone that's kind of watching as well. And again, this is interactive as well, so please feel free to get in touch if you ever have any questions. Okay, so for the next one, what I'm going to talk about is this. So on, what was it? It was on Wednesday. I spend every Wednesday down at a client in North Yorkshire in Catterick. It's the brilliant offshore energy kind of business, and we make subsea cable protection kind of products. And I just wanted to pick someone's brains that when I was pricing up this job, I just wanted to sense check something that I kind of knew, but I just wanted to verbalize it just to make sure that my assumption was correct before I sent off this bid for £1.4 million, I think it was. And when I was talking to Dan, and obviously I see his name's my duck Dan, he said, well, actually, there's a theory that they use in tech companies when they have often a rubber duck, and they just say, look, if you're trying to, explain something to people and really trying to make it simple, explain it to the duck, explain it as if you would to a child or a grandparent. And often, once you verbalize something, you realize, what you thought and your views on different things. But actually, what I want to do is almost keep this as a metaphor, that actually I keep this on my desk now. That again, trying to make business education accessible. It's how can you take complicated 211-page books and really make it simple, but so that people understand it as well. And then likewise, doing that at every single level of the business and how we articulate and do stuff. So I just thought it was a really interesting concept for what you do. And actually, Jonathan could be a great example. Doesn't matter what your business is, we all have to worry about how do we write the copy, the text, the words for our website so that people understand it, that they understand what we're trying to communicate. But often it does help to keep things super, super simple. And then we can build on that as people kind of go through the journey. And I just wanted to give you the visual that, yes, I keep this on my desk now, but actually for your own business, are there ways that you could maybe change how you phrase things? Or do people really understand what it is that you do? That it's a classic thing in business that I used to work for an engineering design firm. And our name was good and people knew we were good at stuff, but there was so many different strands to it that actually people didn't always understood what we did. And again, in the classic example, if you can explain it to the duck, if you can explain it to someone as simply as possible, it should actually really work in helping just to communicate your message. And it was just something that I wanted to kind of explain. And Jonathan is again, it's one of the things that we've mentioned. I've just noticed my laptop is turned off. I don't know why. I'll just unlock it. See, this is the wonder of doing live broadcasts. Stuff goes wrong, but that's cool. So Jonathan, one of the things that we spoke about previously is just it's so much better just get something live. And then once it is, iterate and learn and improve. And that's the only thing that matters. That at the start of the broadcasting, we said actually, it's about little baby steps. But if you can just launch the website, get words out there, and then over time tweak it and simplify it. With the roadmap, I did this just yesterday, and it was a lot of stuff. Even one of the big things that I'm working at the moment for the front cover of version 2, at the moment it's going to say real world business education, with the idea being that the stuff that we teach is tried and tested in the real world. Then likewise, it's nice and simple. It's stuff that you can just apply. But I'm trying to think actually, is that the right way to phrase it? Could I phrase it differently? Is it aspirational enough? And it's all these little tweaks that it just takes time. But if you can explain it to the duck, I think you definitely kind of should. Okay, what time are we on? We are 9:24. I apologise, my voice is quite hoarse today. I think when you start talking for 24 minutes straight, it does often happen that your voice does get a bit sore, but it is what it is. So next. Okay, so last but not least, I'm going to go on to the theory of sell me this pen, but I'm also going to do it in terms of headphones because they're a little bit different. I just wanted to mix it up a bit. I'm going to go. So if you have ever seen Wolf of Wall Street, I talk about Jordan Belfort quite a lot. I actually quite like him. If you go onto YouTube, he has something called Sales School, which I think is quite cool. But again, he's not everyone's cup of tea for everything, but actually he does know how to sell. He is good at it. The classic thing from the film was someone says to you, so sell me this pen. And we actually did this in our classroom session on Tuesday. And one of the things that I asked people to, so I asked Simon to sell me the rubber duck. And Catherine, who was on the session, I actually had a bag of clementines, so small oranges, and asked her to just sell me these. And what was really interesting, using the duck example, and actually Simon was brilliant at it. He was like, oh, this duck is wonderful. You can put it in the bath, it floats, it will give you great time with your family. It's very affordable. This one actually has a hot thing on the bottom, and then he actually went into this great story about why the duck was brilliant and why I should buy it. But one of the classic things that people often miss when someone actually asks, so sell me this pen, and this could be a job kind of example. The thing that most people miss with sales, it's not about brain dumping all the reasons why the duck is brilliant or the headphones are brilliant or the pen is brilliant. It's actually asking questions, and the more you can kind of qualify the buyer and understand actually what is it that they need and what is it that's important to them, that is then something that we can use over time to actually help qualify the buyer. So as a quick question, and you can write in the comments should you wish, if I was to ask you, so sell me these headphones, what would you say? Some people might say, well, actually, these are SteelSeries Arctic 9X. These are voted the best gaming headphones you can buy. They have 7.1 surround sound. They have this microphone that plugs out. You can turn them off. You can mute it. You can use them with your phone. They're brilliant for music. And that is a lot of ways that people actually use to promote stuff, to sell them. But that's not the best way to do it, because actually the first question actually should be, am I even in the market for headphones? And there's lots of other stuff as well. So for instance, if we were to start from scratch, I'm going to put the pen down, and someone actually asked you, okay, look, so sell me these headphones. If I was a salesperson, so I would then actually ask, so tell me about, are you in the market for headphones at the moment? And actually wait and see what the people come back to you. What do they say? Are they interested? And then to actually, what headphones have you bought in the past? What did you like? What did you not like? Okay, and then you listen. And then actually when the person says, well, actually, I'm really into sports, so I use headphones for running. In that case, you don't actually want these. You might want these. These are Apple AirPods Pro, which I bought last week. But the whole point is actually you want to ask questions and make it easy for the person at the other end. They won't understand what their buying drivers are. You're not just pushing what you have. Does that make sense? So often when you're doing a sales message, and it could be Jonathan or Matthew or me or whatever, a really good sales person actually doesn't just push the features of the headphones. They listen and act and really, understand the buyer before they offer a solution. So for instance, with Apple AirPods, you could also ask them, so do you travel? Oh yeah, actually I get quite a lot of flights. Oh, and you're into sports as well. Okay, well actually these do have noise cancellation, which is brilliant for travel. And actually they're small and light enough to use for running and different things as well. And then likewise, especially for sports, there's transparency mode, which allows you to both listen to music, but also hear cars and different things as well, to really kind of keep you safe on the road. But it was just a classic example of actually when someone asks you to sell me this pen or the headphones or even the rubber duck, what they're actually asking you to do is qualify them as a buyer, see if they're actually in the market for what you sell, understand the drivers behind their decision, what they want to do, why they want to do it, why it's important to them. If you've got time, ask them what have they tried in the past, because actually I used to have the previous version of AirPods until I lost them quite recently. These new ones, they are quite good at certain things, but they're quite fiddly. There's a few things which kind of aren't perfect, but it is what it is. But it was just in terms of the classic sales question of sell me this pen or sell me this coffee or whichever, sell me these headphones. Always ask questions first, understand the buyer, understand the buyer's drivers, and then kind of build from there as well. So it's 9:29. I think that's all of my topics covered this week, which it is. Thank you for your time. If you managed to kind of tune in, have a wonderful weekend. I'd love to know almost just what you kind of get up to. Have you got plans to kind of work on your projects this week? Often weekends is a great time to make a little bit of progress. And again, so for instance with the roadmap, at the moment it's 216 pages. It goes up to 242 for version 2. And refined some of the content, added some stuff in. But you don't do these things overnight. These things take a lot of time, but actually anything worth doing often does. That's part of the challenge. So thank you for joining today. My name is Steve Pugh. If you ever want to find out anything more to do with me or the roadmap or whatever, please feel free to get in touch. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a great Friday, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon. All right, cheers guys. Bye bye.